1 gram of protein per pound of body weight for women over 50? That's way too much. Or is it exactly what you need? Some are recommending that women, as we age, we need 1 gram of protein per pound of weight. Are you doing the calculation? Thinking to yourself, okay, that's a lot of protein, and you're already killing yourself trying to get more and more protein in? Well, I have some great news, because while it is recommended to have 1 gram of protein per pound for some, for many midlife women, depending on your goal, this may be overkill, way too much. I'm Alicia Jones, fitness and weight loss expert for women over 50 and the founder of Over 50 Fit and Fabulous. And in this video, we're cutting through the hype. You'll learn exactly who needs 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, who doesn't need even close to that according to the research, and best of all, you'll discover the first starting point in order to understand and assess how much protein you'll actually need. By the way, if you're someone like me who loves to know the why behind what works in midlife, and you'd like some science-backed guidance tailored to women over 50, then don't forget to like my channel. And if you want even more information, check out my free masterclass, the 3-phase food and fitness formula every woman over 50 needs to know. The link is in the description. Okay, let's dive in. First, let's talk about why 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight has become so popular and who it's actually for. See, lately there are more and more fitness experts over 50 who are specifically talking to female athletes and female high-performing exercisers that are recreational exercisers, but they push themselves to a high level in perimenopause all the way to postmenopause. And they're not wrong. If you're an athlete training for a marathon or a triathlon, or you're doing incredibly heavy weights with all of the training that you've been doing for your sport, or you're a high-performing exerciser, even a recreational one. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 days a week of doing some weights and walking. I'm talking about 4 days of doing swims and cycles and runs, weight training, maybe CrossFit in there, and your yoga and mobility. You've got high intensity interval training. You're mixing in some very heavy, intense, hard workouts in there, and you're very, very, very active. If that sounds like you, then yes, try to aim for that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Why? Well, there are a few key reasons, and some of them apply to all women as we age. So listen up, regardless of whether or not you're an athlete or a high-performing exerciser. First reason, anabolic resistance. This is when your muscles don't respond as well to the signals that help them grow. Think about it like this. You know how with age, some of us become harder of hearing? I know that is definitely the case for me. Well, your muscles also become hard of hearing to the signals that are coming in asking your muscle to grow. Basically, we need to crank up the volume. More protein, hard, intense weight training, louder signals. Here is a systemic review that talks about the effects of anabolic resistance and how factors such as protein and the quality of that protein can affect muscle growth during anabolic resistance, or with this anabolic resistance. Reason number 2, lean mass declines with age. I know, total bummer, but you probably already know that with every decade after adult life, we lose lean muscle. And that's actually accelerated after 50. To mitigate this with age, we need more than the recommended daily allowance of 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, as shown in this study here, but there are many others out there that are starting to show these effects as well. Reason number 3, as women, we need more protein than men. And this is so important. I probably don't need to tell you that the big reason is because hormones shift. And one of those shifts, that decline in estrogen, well, estrogen is actually anabolic. It helps muscle to grow. So with the declines, we don't have that to the same degree. Not to mention, we don't have the same amount of lean mass as men do, and we experience greater anabolic resistance. That first point, that first reason that we just spoke about, we experience it to a greater degree. So for example, in this study here, it shows that when men and women were given a similar amount of protein, Men experienced protein synthesis at about 56%, where women only experienced 13%. That's a big difference and a compelling reason as to why women need to have more protein to try and help with this anabolic resistance. So to sum it up, everybody needs more protein with age to mitigate the effects of anabolic resistance, protein degradation, and to help with protein synthesis. Women even more than men. Now we add on the athlete and high-performing exerciser effect. As an athlete or a high-performing exerciser, you are constantly breaking down lean muscle with your sport or your exercise activity, and you constantly need to repair that lean muscle. And that's where the 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is recommended. It helps counteract the combined effect of age-related muscle loss with intense training. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is also recommended in specific scenarios when there is more of a breakdown of lean muscle or when there is the need to repair lean mass or enhance lean mass to a greater degree. You're recovering from an injury, for example, or if you're trying to lose weight and maybe that weight's coming off very quickly. So that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is specific for those athletes, high-performing exercisers, you've got an injury, or you're going through some intense weight loss. It's not for that woman who's trying to lift a couple of weights in between meetings as she's going on with her busy day. It's not for the woman that's getting back into movement after a long time off or who is never really consistent with their exercise to begin with. It's not for the exerciser who is doing it because yes, they want to feel better, they want to support their health and move so that they can do those other activities they love like the hikes, taking care of the grandkids or gardening, where exercise is a support for life and not the center of it. It's also not for the woman who wants to lose weight, but really she's not in a rush. I mean, she's going to move, she's going to eat healthy, and if she loses some weight, great. If she doesn't, well, you know what? As long as she feels her best. If those scenarios sound more like you, what happens if you decide you want to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight anyways, even though it's not necessarily needed? Well, health-wise, probably nothing. It won't give you kidney issues. That's a myth unless you have advanced kidney disease. You won't get sick. I mean, you might feel really full. Protein is very satiating. But what I'm starting to see from women that are trying to get to this number that maybe don't really need to be at this number, they're starting to feel really disheartened when they can't make that goal. Some feel constantly full and bloated, and it's not from overeating in calories, it's just because, as we just talked about, protein is really satiating. And in many cases, I see women also cutting out high fiber rich foods like fruits and vegetables and whole grains because they are trying to hit these really high protein numbers. And in midlife, fiber is also incredibly important for your quality of life and your health. It helps with the gut microbiome. It balances out hormones, reduces your risk of colon cancer, and it even lowers cholesterol. High protein doesn't hurt you, but we definitely do need to be careful that it doesn't crowd out the other nutrients and fiber that is needed to live a healthy, good quality of life with age. Okay, so now that we've gotten all that out of the way, if you are in that second category, how much protein then do you need? I am so glad you asked. Well, to figure this out, we need to take a look at what the science says, at least for right now. And we all know that there are limitations. There are not a lot of studies still conducted on women as we age. Studies tend to have a cap around 1.5 or 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which is about 0.72 grams of protein per pound. And those studies also tend to be lacking, again, in women as we age. There still are some really great research papers that show what a guideline could be if you're just getting started and you're not an athlete. This study was a 5-year cohort done on women 70 plus. It showed that protein intake greater than 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight was associated with beneficial effects on the maintenance of lean body mass and bone mineral density. This observational study conducted by the Women's Health Initiative, it was done on over 24,000 women. These women were aged 65 to 79, and when they initially started the study, there was no frailty found. Over the course of 3 years, they were monitored, and it was concluded that those that had 20% greater protein, which calculated to about 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, had up to 32% lower frailty risk. And while this study in and of itself could not pinpoint a protein level needed higher than 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, it was suggested that there was other research done to show 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight could also be very useful. This one shows that those who consumed the average intake of 1.1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, it was associated with better strength, lower fat to lean ratio, and improved performance on physical tests in women 60 to 90 years of age. One more thing that I want to look into is something called the ceiling effect or break point. This is something where if we were to take in more protein, at some point our body's just not going to use it. We're going to have the strength of protein synthesis, stave off protein degradation to the degree that we are going to stave it off and to enhance lean muscle. But then after that, all extra protein really doesn't do anything. There's like a threshold. And I'd still like more studies done on this as well, because there are very few, once again, done on women and aging women in particular. So let's work with what we have, or at least with what I found. This was a very small study, and it was an observational study, but it was done on untrained postmenopausal women. And it found that 1.1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight was enough for them to become stronger, to enhance their lean muscle, and to feel good. However, ingesting any more than that really did not help them out any further. And a large meta-analysis study that did pool both men and women together found that 1.62 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, going to that about 0.7 grams of protein per pound level, that they also had strength and improvements. However, going beyond that, again, did not do anything. So I think personally, if you are looking just to be healthy, you're not an athlete or a high-performing exerciser, starting between the range of 1.1 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is more than sufficient. So you're aiming for about 0.5 to 0.73 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And remember, if you want to eat a gram of protein per pound, there's no harm in that either. Just make sure that it's working for you. It's working for your energy, your digestion, and your sanity trying to hit those numbers. Because at the end of the day, your nutrition should be supporting you and not taking over your lifestyle. And once again, if you want more science-backed information, check out my free masterclass. I'll also post that link below. See you next time.